Okie dokie.
Look at this, it's gem time.
It's gem time.
Gem time for everybody.
It's always really surprising how it just comes together once you've done a bit of the highlighting and shading.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Very often you could be like, oh my god, it's the worst. I'm terrible. I'm horrible. Like, just blah.
Well, don't
And
worry,
then,
that's going to happen again in a moment.
yeah. No, I expect so. Well, we had
now.
it during. wait, already?
Well, it's difficult. I'm trying to do the gem.
Okay.
And I have to lay them with black first, and then go on top of them with colors. So I've got 3 blues as well. So they're just so small.
Okay.
To paint.
So, while you're doing something incredibly difficult, I thought it would be a brilliant moment to check in with you and see how you feel about all this Eldari shit we've been talking on.
Good.
Just to make it more complicated and difficult for you.
Thanks. Yeah. Talking whilst doing this section is great, and I love it. I'm so happy. The Eldar have more sympathy from me now than they did before.
Yeah, there's a lot of so sad stories for the Eldar, to be honest.
There's I do find the paths really interesting, and like the fact that they, can fall to them, or they have to walk this really delicate line to like not fall to them.
Yeah.
And become the exarchs of the paths.
which also kind of makes them experts, so in a weird way it's good, but
yeah, it's like finding that balance of like not falling into it completely but also being able to be an expert at it.
But I mean, like, the interesting thing is, like, if they didn't have the experts who were like expert warriors, would they fall and like all be destroyed? Because is in fact the set of paths also a way to find the specialists, the experts who love this thing that they can just like dedicate their being to it and like perfect it? And is that how the Eldar survive, while they also try and find perfection as an individual, as opposed to like perfection in an individual thing?
Yes. Oh, I was painting a very delicate gem.
Gem painting clearly is not the best time for
it's not the best time for this back and forth. No.
introspective but no, it's just it's something that like I don't think people, because it's 40k, right? Like everyone loves the stories of a badassing badasses.
And the memes and like
and the memes and all that type of thing, but like I think it's interesting, and I don't think people think about things like the Eldar paths and what they actually mean.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes that can get not overlooked, just not really like deeply looked into or seen, I guess.
Yeah, and you just wouldn't know about it, right, unless you go lore diving.
Yeah. I mean, I've never thought about it before, but
and if you mainly play the tabletop, it's why would it necessarily come in? Because it's not.
Yeah, Howling Banshees are useful for this strategy or tactic. Like, it doesn't really matter that they're following a path. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, like how they came to be Howling Banshees, or what they want to do after that, or
yeah.
I don't know, because I've only played a little bit of the tabletop. I tend to think of it in the format of like, well, how would this benefit Slaanesh? And I was thinking about the pride in the paths and not the excess of it necessarily, but the
extreme.
Yeah. And I can see how they could fall to chaos.
And see how they kind of created Slaanesh as well, because they are very much Slaaneshi as much as they may hate to.
Yeah, it's going to the absolute end to to be good at this thing and then move on to the next thing. They want to be good at everything. And trying to find that balance is really difficult and really interesting. The books sound really I need to find another word other than interesting.
Fascinating.
Fascinating. The books sound
There
like
you
they'd be fun to read. It's not something I would have thought to read before. I know that there are a lot of Warhammer sort of fiction books.
Oh yeah.
But it's not something I've ever looked into. And whenever I tend to look at campaign books or game books, I like shy away from them a little bit because I got a little bit burnt by the Resident Evil book. But I think that would be fun.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's one of those things where like, it's especially you look at like the excess of it's very Slaaneshi. You look at the excess of it all, and you're like, wow, that's a lot to commit to. Maybe I'll just maybe another day, you know, like, yeah, fuck it, like, another day I'll go and check out this specific book, because it kind of looks like I have to read like 20 or 30 more books to understand the book that I'm interested in reading.
Yeah, it's just too
That kind of
much at
thing.
times. You just want to jump into a book and read and chill out.
It's a lot like the 40k lore
Yeah.
itself. Is like, there's so much of it that
you don't want to touch it.
Well, you kind of need like some videos to sit down and watch, so that someone else can explain to you the things that you're going to eventually read.
Oh, if only someone would do that. Maybe they could be painting or something at the same time. That'd be
If only, but unfortunately, we'll be forever bereft of such a thing.
dreadful.
So yeah, Eldar.
Eldar.
Oh, I got the hiccups. That's not for me.
You mocked me earlier for having hiccups.
I did. It's
Sorry, that was a little aggressive.
no, it is acceptable because it is also true. So we are going to talk about, and skirt around Morgan Ra and the Altansar Craftworld.
Oh. I feel like Morgan's a guy. Did you mention him?
Yeah, Morgan Ra, the Harvester of Souls, is the founder and Phoenix Lord of the Dark Reaper Aspect Warriors.
Yes, you did mention him because we were talking a little bit about Aspect Lords.
You remember he's the dude with like the skull face and armor, and he's got the big sight. They're the guys who fire the anti-tank from long range. So we'll talk about Altansar first, because there's not super load to talk about initially. It was a relatively small craft world that managed to like ride out the fall of the Eldar. Inside, obviously inside the craft world, they're shielded from Slaanesh's sucking of everyone's souls. Unfortunately, they were kind of close to the Eye of Terror when this happened, as the Eye of Terror like burst into reality. So they spent about 500 years trying not to get sucked into the Eye of Terror and fighting things that were like coming out of the Eye of Terror.
Great. Sorry. Yeah, I think I'd rather fight for 500 years than just fall to them, though. So
yeah, I think that's fair too. Unfortunately, after 500 years, they fell into the warp anyway.
Oh, okay. Good. No, that's what I wanted to happen.
the entire population, or the entire Eldar population of the Altansar craft world, was swallowed along with the craft world into the warp, aside from Phoenix Lord Morgan Ra. He was the only one who managed to escape the craft world.
Aww. Why?
I did. I can have a look. I don't
You,
think it actually
I love I
says
love it when I ask
ID.
you questions and you don't know the answer. It's like my mission in these videos.
Oh, I'm glad that's your mission because there's so much I don't know. Like I would say on the Necrons probably 95%, and on the Eldar probably about 60%. I didn't know before I researched it. So, you know, it's
And
good that you're finding more things I don't know. Uh,
yay, you're learning too.
yeah, it literally just says,
Because he
um,
left like a wuss.
yeah, I guess he just pieced out. I
Worst.
don't know. Well, anyway, it's not like he was a leader. He was just the Phoenix Lord of the of us of like a aspect. You know, they're kind of
Just the
leaders,
leader,
but
then.
yeah,
Right.
not the leader of the craft world is what I'm saying. Then so that was 500 years of fighting the stuff. 10,000 years later, Abaddon the despoiler turned up from the Eye of Terror at the head of the 13th Black Crusade.
But uh, Abaddon, why is he turning up? What's he doing? Why is he causing ruckus?
Well, you remember that map I showed you of the huge tear down the center of the galaxy?
Uh huh.
That's what Abaddon did.
What a shit.
You're right.
And I'm actually using Abaddon Black right now.
What? There you go. He gets everywhere.
Gets everywhere, makes a mess, dries out before I'm finished painting the gems. Outrageous. This is the worst thing he's ever done.
Yeah. But essentially, when they like broke out the Eye of Terror and they're like, "Yo, what up? We here." It left a bridge between the materium, the universe, and the immaterium.
Great. No, we love that so that we can they can just saunter over whenever.
So Morgan Ra was like, "Yo, my fucking Craftworlds in there, Altansar." By the way, Altansar color scheme is like kind of crimson purple, if you know what I mean, with like a white faceplate and like dark gray helmet.
Okay.
So it's like kind of purpley, but also crimson. You know, it's got like that little red to the purple.
Yeah.
What's that? Royal purple or something like that, maybe. A darker purple, anyway. And yeah, so Morgan Ra was like, "Fucking, let's go!" and like charged into the Eye of Terror with the cadre of I don't know how many people went with him, but
On his own. He led the revolt.
and he essentially like this is the thing about 40k that I love. He left a trail behind. I don't. It says it says here he left a silvered in inverted commas a silvered trail of soulfire. What does this mean? I don't know. Maybe just don't mention it and move past it. But
Is that what your notes say?
yeah. Well, because like sometimes I don't know where the like reference is from.
Yeah.
People will just put down in like wikis and stuff, and they'll just be like, "Oh, this is a thing," and like very often it's like I may be reading a wiki where it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah, and you don't know where
I
the
don't know where
truth
the originator
lies.
was from, and if there are even references in the original. So I'm just like, okay, it basically sounds like Soulfire. I mean, I guess I could do another quick search for
Yeah, you can do that,
Soulfire.
and I will look at my tiny, tiny paintbrushes. Because we are breaking out the blues.
So apparently, Soulfire is a demon weapon. I don't believe that. Um, I think it's essentially like part or like emotion or something. You know, like really strong
Well,
emotion.
I thought that it was Like, he's killing so many bad guys that their souls are just iridescent and breaking out behind him.
Yeah.
So,
So there's something called a Soulfire Lance, which
mhm.
is a twisted spinal column or collection of broken bones stretched unnaturally into a lot of the. It's a gateway to the Immaterium. Each time the bearer squeezes the lance, the demon howls, unleashing a vortex of Imperium energy that draws its victims into the lances. I don't think that's what it is, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie.
You don't know.
This is the thing: is you say a thing, you say Soulfire, a trail of Soulfire, and you're like, what the fuck is that? And then you search, and it's like, there's so many things it could be. Just don't worry
Just
about
don't
it, you know.
ask. Like,
Um,
Soulfire. I am envisioning. So I play World of Warcraft. Sorry, everyone.
yeah.
There's a druid form that you got from doing challenges in one of the previous expansions, and it's a sparkle kitty. So I'm envisioning the blue sparkle kitty, and anyone who plays WoW knows what that means. And if you Google druid sparkle kitty, you'd probably be able to find it too. How about that for a picture reference?
Yeah.
He's like, I really don't want to look at WoW.
Yeah.
Don't make me.
I don't. I'm already like World of Warcraft is what happened. Like Warcraft is what happened when Blizzard were going to make a Warhammer game, and then they Games Workshop said no, you're not allowed. We have the rights. Fuck you. And so Blizzard went, okay, we'll make something else instead, but it's going to be similar, but you can't sue us. And that's how Warcraft and Starcraft came about.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, learning all sorts today.
There you go. I mean, if you think about the Zerg, they're eerily similar to Tyranids.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things in it that do remind me of things we've spoken about and that we will speak about. But I just thought these things happen.
Oh, these things do happen, but sometimes there's a reason for it.
I told you.
I told you.
We're having all blue gems mainly because I don't want to do other colors.
If there's ever a radio show or like a podcast show of a story of like an official one, I hope that they approach me to voice Orokin. I'd be very happy. All I do is just be like, I told you.
Shooting his shot, everyone. Let them know if you hear about it.
There you go. But no. So he left a trail. I'm guessing like soul breadcrumbs, essentially, or maybe the Soulfire is just like his ship. Like he can set it up so it like leaves a trail behind it that he can follow back out. But he did eventually find the lost Craftworld, and some of them were still alive.
What?
Yeah. Unfortunately, because they'd survived 10,000 years inside the Eye of Terror.
Oh no.
No one really trusted them when they came back out.
Yeah.
And
I see that.
That's the worst thing is like he led them out of the Eye of Terror and joined in the fight against Abaddon. That essentially they stopped Abaddon from achieving what he wanted. So to give you an idea of how bad the thing that Abaddon wanted to do was, the consolation prize he got was ripping the galaxy in half.
Oh.
So that like tear in the galaxy wasn't what he wanted to do. That was like him being annoyed that he'd lost and like a bad loser. So he was like, fine, I'm gonna rip the galaxy in half.
Do we just not know what it is?
It would be. I want to save that for a talk about the fall of Cadia and Abaddon and.
Okay, said it here first.
Not
allowed to know the lore.
hey, this is Eldar lore. We don't go off on tangents into other things.
Yep.
You want to talk about the Tyranids or the Necrons again?
Yeah, I do.
No, damn it. At some point, we will revisit the Necrons and talk about some of the characters in the Necrons as well, because
Yeah, because I
there's some fun characters.
have other models to paint.
Yes. So yeah, there were people were the other craft worlds weren't super happy at the return of Altansar. Um, because essentially they figured either they are now chaos or they made a deal with Yanid. Now, Yanid is the god of death who is still being resurrected in the. You remember we went into all that detail about the Yanade,
Yeah, with the Lynx puppy.
Yeah. So they think that possibly this craft world basically was protected by the god of death Inid to like I have a theory about the whole Inade thing. I think that because this is 40k, obviously nothing good's going to happen to the Eldar.
Obviously.
I have a theory that this is the emergence of a new, like, properly evil threat, which is not going to be a chaos god, but more going to be like it's going to be like an evolution for the Eldar, but they're going to create their own another like threat, and they're essentially going to have a massive civil war.
Oh, good, because they, have their shit together as it is. So
yeah, I feel like the rise of Inid will cause the Eldar to basically like start heading towards their own destruction, whereby like a whole load of them fight against Inid,
yeah,
and a whole load of them like support, and it's going to turn into a civil war between. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, basically.
We shall have to see.
And I think possibly part of the reason they want to do this is just to get rid of the Dark Eldar as a faction, because the Dark Eldar are especially memey and problematic in current days.
Yeah.
I think they want to like.
I thought you were talking about the Eldar wanted to get rid of the Dark Eldar,
No.
and then you just went into
I think they want to
memes. I'm like, oh, Eldar no memes.
Well, this is talking about Gabe's Workshop and their vision for 40k. I think they want to basically like push together the Eldar and the Dark Eldar, like form them into one faction, so they can split them apart again and not have sex murder Eldar, and go down like a different route and kind of like reimagine them for the current day. Because
they are a bit problematic, really.
Yeah, they enjoy torture, murder, pain, suffering, and all of those type of things, along with a few other things, which are even worse. So like it's yeah, I just get that feeling.
Yeah.
But with like the Altansar craft world turning up and possibly in league with Yanid, that implies that that there's something maybe going on that they're setting up. So that was my thought.
Do they do like release dates things for these, or are they just over the years like putting this?
Probably just be over the years.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's interesting how they would release a story, I guess.
Yeah.
Interested in that now.
A lot of it happens with the codexes. There's like little snippets in the codexes, and then you have the novels, a lot of which, like, Marvel likes to be like, oh, expanded universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we're so awesome. It's like, have you seen 40k? Like, Jesus Christ, they've been doing expanded universe for about 40 years.
Get with the times.
They have the books, the codexes, the random like short stories and all of that shit. It's like, god damn.
So much. They...
Also,
Mhm.
the most interesting thing is after the 13th Black Crusade, when the Ultansar Craftworld like pieced out of the Eye of Terror and fought everything. They like basically went back between the warp and the material universe, and fought fought Abaddon and his forces and everything, and then kind of like pieced out for a bit, and then now currently, the Craftworld Ultansar is quite close to Earth, also known as Terra.
Oh.
And no one is sure how they are that deep into the heart of the Imperium, and the Imperials have not currently retaliated.
Done anything about it.
Yeah,
Ooh.
which is either worrying or interesting or who knows what. It's
Both.
just, yeah. I think partially it's just because they're not welcome in the like in the other all the other craft worlds. They're like, nope, nope. So
We are not friends anymore.
I think it's possible that Morgan Ra is maybe going to like I don't know break away from the craft world Eldar. Oh, and also interestingly,
Yeah.
the craft world like guardians and like literally the people of the Eldar of Ultansar um will not remove their helmets ever, even like under torture and like imprisonment and stuff, and they only speak in whispers.
Well, they can't. Yeah, if they were in the
For 10,000 years.
10,000 years, you need to be quiet because you don't want to be getting any of your secrets out there.
Yeah. It's just like a little interesting fact there. I don't know exactly what it means.
Means that they're
And
actually demons in
I,
disguise.
I think the funniest part of that is that like right underneath that in the wiki, like that little note, I've put this in my notes. I said, remember to point out how the art for the Altansar craft world involves an Eldar with his helmet off.
Mm.
Which, you know what, I'm just gonna because I feel like I should because it's
Typical marker time.
so it's that's literally right below them saying they never take their helmet
They
off
never
ever,
take-
even being tortured, and then it's like, and here's a picture of them without their helmet on. It's just like, okay.
That's funny.
And yeah, they're the color. I think originally they didn't have the color black as part of, I think they were just red all over.
Yeah.
But when Morgan Ra came and saved them from the Eye of Terror, yes, okay. So actually, they used to have white helmets, but they've recolored them black in honor of Morgan Ra because he's obviously
Aww.
his aspect warriors, the Dark Reapers, are mostly black.
So that's sweet.
Yeah,
In a creepy Eldar way. Oh,
I mean it's the best you could expect from an Eldar. So
yep.
how's the painting going here?
Difficult. Yeah, I'm just doing the highlight on the gems. Oh, it was hard. It's like trying to make it look nice.
Yeah.
But they're also so like small spaces.
Does it take you a while, or is it just like the need to concentrate increases?
The second one.
Mm.
It's like
Was
it
that
can't even breathe.
intentionally a joke or?
Yes, it was.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, jeez. But
Like I'm
yeah,
not
that.
breathing when I'm doing these little. I'm just doing the
Oh,
we're in Lothern blue now,
yeah.
and in a second I'm gonna have to do some white scar, and they're gonna have to be like the tiniest dots ever,
Okay.
and I'm really nervous. But getting some of these angles for the gems, and like I'm gonna have to clean up some
Yeah.
of the gold and some of the
I imagine if you didn't have to concentrate on having a chat about lore. I mean, I know you're not like massively chatting about it because you don't know the lore, but doing that along with being on having to keep it on camera and like
yeah, that's a part of it
yeah,
as well.
all I have to do is just read from my notes and remember bits that I've kind of researched. So
I feel like sometimes crafting is hard enough in itself,
mm.
on camera and then on camera and I'm really trying to pay attention and engage with it. And I'm sort of having all these thoughts on all the craft worlds and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, but I just need to do this blue first.
Yeah,
But I think it's going quite well.
yeah.
I said a little bit earlier, but when you do the sort of shading, contrast, and the highlights, it just suddenly comes together, and you're like, oh,
Mm.
there it is.
Suddenly I see.
And so,
So should we move on to the next one? You wanna talk a little bit more about the Eldar?
yeah, I guess. Or we could talk about the Necrons again.
I mean, I did pick this one out specifically because this is the siege of Somonor.
I'm guessing we get to hang out with my buddies.
Yeah, it's the Eldar versus the Necrons, and it's a
Interestingly, on this Exarch's arm, on its right arm, it's got 3 gems, which is rude, frankly.
sure.
And the last, I just said the thing about we could talk about the Necrons, and the last time when you said we could talk about the Necrons, I was painting that exact same bit.
Oh,
So there's something about those gems that are Necron gems, I think.
there you go. I don't think they are, but
They are. They were stolen
so
from.
we are going to talk about the Sortek Pharaon, who is called so the Sortek is the dynasty.
Right?
Pharaon is like king, essentially.
Yeah.
He is called Imhotep the Stormlord.
Imhotep the Storm. What a chump.
And his fun he had
It's fun.
with the Elitok Craftworld and an Eldar Farseer called Eldarath Starbane.
I just like how dramatic their names are and ridiculous.
The Eldar or just everyone?
Everyone,
Yeah.
but mainly the Eldar.
I mean, Imhotep the Stormlord, that's pretty dramatic. Just because
Yeah.
you like them better, I have to
Oh, you mean they're
play.
not? You didn't say that he was a Necron.
Oh,
Imhotep.
yes, Imhotep the Stormlord is the Necron.
All right then. Well, look, they are all dramatic, but the Eldar
Yes.
are more dramatic.
So, Imhotep the Stormlord lived on a tomb world, or the tomb world of Somonor.
Right?
And he was chilling. He was
Having a nap, having a walk around.
Now, Elitok is probably one of the largest and most important craft worlds. It is like it loves its spying. Stealth
Right.
and misdirection is like its combat speciality.
Okay.
Right? It shows in the Ultima Segmentum, which is like, as I remember, that's kind of like ultramarine area, if I'm not mistaken. Is McCrag around there? I'm pretty sure McCrag is around there. That's why the Ultramarines like to chill. Fucking assholes. No, it's
Why?
not. What the hell is
Why
McCrag?
are they assholes?
The Ultramarines?
Yeah.
Because I mean, oh no. Yeah, okay, McCrag is way down south. It is in the Ultima Segmentum, though. Oh, okay, yeah, it is. I thought so. Sorry,
Are you
we
not
got a
going to
light
tell
on.
me that why ultramarines are assholes, or?
I mean, do you want to do the Ultra Read episode? Because we could do the Ultra Read episode. It's just me shouting.
I look forward to that.
But they essentially prefer to like not they don't like a straight up fight. They would prefer to either go in stealthily and destroy the objective, or they'd prefer to like attack somewhere and then once all the forces have moved, actually go in to attack the thing they want to kill.
Yeah.
You know? So they're kind of assholes, you know, more so. Their color scheme is like dark blue black all over with a yellow helmet and a dark black blue faceplate. They look really dumb. If you can guess, I'm not a fan of a Lighthawk. The same
Can
way
you
I'm
put
not
a
a fan of
picture? Do you have one?
Oh yeah, sure.
I want to see them. Watch me like them. Like I'm like, oh, I like that color scheme. I don't mean to be contrary. Oh no, they look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Okay. So it like okay, in my notes here it says they lost a whole load of people during the fall of the Eldar. But in brackets, I'm like, yeah, but so did everyone else.
Yeah.
So that's not really
You're not
anything
special.
to brag about. Fuck you. Yeah. It does say even more than, you know, the other Craftworlds and stuff, but I don't know if I believe that. I think they're just claiming that because they're.
You're so angry. It's always fun when you hate them.
Yeah, I mean they're also like super puritanical about like they don't even mix with other craft worlds.
Oh.
They're like very puritanical. They're Puritans basically. Yeah, they're kind of like you know, we're not gonna hang with anyone who could lead us down the same path that we ended up in the Eldar when the Eldar Empire fell. So they're like really disciplined. They're very Spartan. It's all, you know, yeah. And they tend to banish their people more than anyone else.
Oh.
They do also have the most number of exarchs because they're like they focus so much on the thing they're doing, they get lost down. They also like war, I guess, but
whoa.
So that's a light talk.
So they have a lot of exarchs. They get lost a lot because they don't have maps.
Yeah. Well, no, they have a lot of pathfinders, essentially like rangers, who are still like they become outcasts essentially.
Yeah.
So a lot of them go ranger as opposed to corsair and still help the craft world just outside the craft world.
Yeah.
So a lot of them have like been spying upon the Imperium of Man. Like invariably, if you find like a dodgy Eldar in the bush as you're wandering around your planet, it's most likely from a Lighthawk.
Right.
Yeah.
It's sneaky, judgy. Got it.
Oh, yeah, you know, they'll totally like drop onto an Imperium planet and just spy on them from the bushes. It's really creepy. It's another reason I don't like a Lighthawk. Basically, it's a craft world of peeping toms.
Okay.
They stare at you in the shower.
Ugh.
Assholes.
I'm making a new color, so this is interesting.
Okay.
I don't know how
I'm down with this.
I don't. I guess I just didn't get the right color. So I don't have Gwilliman flesh. So I'm trying to make it with
I think it's Gulliman.
yeah, Gwilliman flesh. So I'm making it with
So Gulliman, like fun fact,
uh-huh.
is the Primarch of the Ultramarines.
Oh, well, he's a jerk. Because he's not in my paint repertoire. So I'm
Okay.
making it with that was Screaming Skull. I'm putting a little bit of Cadian flesh tone in and a little bit of Rakeland flesh tone contrast.
Okay.
And you know, if it goes wrong, it's your fault.
Fair enough. I don't know why, but I'm prepared to accept this.
I just don't know how I don't have this color. I'm a little bit confused, really, but you
Okay.
know, thought I had all the colors on the planet for these things, so it's coming out a little bit like this color. So I think it's looking about right,
Yeah.
but I don't
Well,
know. Sorry, distraction.
so Alightox, like homeworlds, like native homeworlds,
Yeah.
which they left in the craft world, was like on the border of the Eldar Empire.
Right. Like towards the outer reaches of space or the center or
So yeah, kind of on the southern outskirts, I guess, of the galaxy.
Okay.
Pretty far away. And the only reason I know that is because of what happens. So essentially, they almost cast away too late from their worlds, and essentially, like they left their people there. You know, the ones who didn't leave the homeworlds, and obviously they all had their souls sucked out and died.
Great.
But Alightok managed to survive and lost people, but essentially it was over a long period of time because they've always been fighting. Much like a lot of the craft worlds, it's very hard to go anywhere in 40k, and like wherever you are, you kind of have to fight. I
Yeah, there's
I
always
imagine,
something.
yeah, I imagine that's why that we talked about them earlier. That one craft world just wants to kind of peace out,
Yeah.
and I think it's Lugganath craft world what just wants to kind of like disappear into the immaterium and just chill for a bit.
Yeah.
It's like we just need
What's
like a day for ourselves,
day, 10,000 years,
Yeah.
whatever.
So in the early days, after this whole Slaanesh thing, guess what turned up?
Uh, oops.
One of the
My brain.
early splinter fleets of High Fleet Behemoth,
Oh
which is
no, the
yeah.
Tyranids?
Yeah, it wasn't like super bad because that is the fleet that eventually invaded the Ultramarines' homeworld, Macragge.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's essentially they just kind of like ran into the Tyranids, and I think it was the first time it might be the first time the Eldar
Found the Tyranids and they're like,
found the
surprise.
Tyranids. Um, and obviously the Eldar could kind of like out fight them, but
Because
that
it was
doesn't
early
really mean
days.
much because yeah, they weren't prepared. I don't think. Also, the Tyranid fleet weren't really very able to like adjust to the tactics and speed of the Eldar.
Yeah, until they ate
Um,
them.
well, it's it's just one of those things where like maybe wherever they were, whatever they were fighting was like slower and etc. But like yeah, it wasn't great. Unfortunately, um, the Tyranids just kind of kept on coming.
Yeah.
Um,
Which we expected.
and so Alightok was basically like, fuck it, destroy. Like even if we die, we'll destroy these assholes who are killing us.
Yeah.
Um, so this kind of like giant Tyranid bioweapon ship is like creeping towards them. They managed to attack it, essentially like whatever it was inside it that was kind of like relaying, you know, the synapse creature inside it was killed during the attack, which meant that the ship kind of went dormant and stopped working.
Oh.
And like the command structure of the Hive fleet kind of fell apart, and they kind of like went onto autopilot.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about it in the Tyranid episode, but essentially, when the Tyranids are in fights, their orders are relayed through special synapse creatures, basically like radio towers.
Yeah.
If you kill those synapse creatures, the remaining Tyranids aren't connected to the hive mind anymore.
Yeah, and they don't have tactics. They don't have
Yeah, there's no
right.
tact. They're not really a force. They're just like they go on kind of like implanted instinct.
Yeah.
So there are some Tyranids who will like blindly charge at the enemy to kill them, and there are others that will go underground to hide. So
Right.
they're not as dangerous. They're basically very easily destroyable.
So
So
take out the synapse relayer.
essentially, they were easier to destroy after that for the craft world and for the fleet,
Yeah.
but like like all around the craft world was just like covered with the remnants of this hive.
Made a mess.
And there's a possibility that there might still be some alive that can survive and just like end up on the craft world.
Oh. From
So
just being in and around space, like they don't know what the capabilities are of it. Yeah.
yeah, and so they essentially launched thousands of torpedoes all around, and destroyed essentially all of the spores and bioforms and anything left. Um, and they were so effective at this that the on the map, the area that they did this is still marked as a dead zone.
God.
Like centuries and like a millennia, not a millennia, but it's like centuries afterwards.
Oopsie daisy.
So yeah,
A little bit too much.
there's a lot more stuff on Ally Talk, honestly, and I think that could cover an entire episode
Mm-hmm.
of something. So I just wanted to give you an idea of Ally Talk before we talk about the Siege of Somonor.
Okay.
So the Siege of Somonor was essentially the Craftworld Eldar of Alightok, and especially the Seer Council, seeing an opportunity.
Yeah. To do.
Essentially, they thought that Pharaon Imatek was kind of still dopey from being asleep. It seemed to them, as they were like, you know, spreading their spies across the galaxy and like collecting information, it seemed like he was a weakness. A lot of it seemed like a lot of during the Great Sleep when all the Neldar, when all the Necrons warriors were asleep and everything, a lot of them just dusted.
Yeah.
You know, basically. And those that were rising were doing it slowly and having difficult time doing it.
Yeah. Which they would.
Yeah.
At
So
that time.
yeah. He essentially so the overlord of Somanor was called Zaron. And he pledged himself to the Pharaoh Imhotep, who was the head of the Satek dynasty.
Right.
With me so far?
So pledged himself to them, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So the problem is that Eldar Starbane, the Farseer, went to check it out after being told that it was kind of it was kind of shitty and not very well defended, and the Necrons weren't really waking up, and those that did were kind of like not very useful and not very good at fighting and all this type of thing. So he was like, okay, cool, I think we should attack. And the Alitok council was like, fuck yeah, let's do this shit. Like, we love it when we don't have to fight. So he went ahead and didn't wait for the reinforcement force because he thought he could do it by himself.
Arrogance.
Oh yeah, I told you you were going to like this one. So they started fighting, and every time they made ground, it was countered.
Yeah.
So like a Viper squadron, along with a Wave Serpent, it's essentially like big tanks, big floaty Eldar tanks. They split off from like the main assault by the Eldar, and like drove directly to where the general of the enemy, the Necron forces, was, to pretty much like end the battle. Their assumption was that the Necrons were so kind of like dopey and not very good
And sleepy and
yeah, that they'd be able to like cut off the battle really quickly. But Imhotep, and obviously I don't think they knew that Imhotep was the one who was there with his own troops, who was like, haha, I've been awake for ages. I don't know how long he'd been awake.
Ages.
He essentially had left parts, like sections of his defensive line weak to make them do that, like try and like push through to end the fight. So the second that this like squadron of like really important tanks and shit started pushing, like a giant monolith appeared behind them and cut off their
escape
retreat.
route, yeah.
Like I think one of them actually hit it and blew up, and the rest kind of like the rest managed to not get hit by it or anything like that, but essentially got split up and then were like surrounded and fucking bitched, basically.
They're like, uh-oh. Okay.
So essentially, every time the Eldar did something smart, it was something that Imhotep had like
planned for already.
Like not just, he wasn't just expecting it, he had arranged it so that they would
do that thing.
Yeah. Like Eldar on jet bikes were sniped out of their out of their jet bikes. Big like I guess it's like a weapon platform or tank maybe. would like appear in places where they shouldn't have been to like destroy. I guess they're tank destroyers. Yeah, kind of. They're called heavy destroyers. And they would like appear randomly around like surrounding sections of tanks and weapons platforms and just like destroy them. And by the time that the Farseer, Elder Starbane, realized what was happening and that he was just repeatedly being tricked and kind of like drawn into ambushes and all of these things, it was kind of too late to retreat.
Yeah, you gotta try and think your way out of it then.
So instead, he had to kept pushing in the hope that he would outwit Imatech.
Guess that didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, so the problem is that the Necrons are very, very durable, and the majority of them, if they get destroyed, they essentially get like teleported back, like retrieved back by teleporters.
Yeah.
And reassembled. But the more that happens, the more likely it is that they will just die. Like they'll just like take too much damage, and they won't be either reassemblable. And so the interesting thing about the Necrons as well, that I think makes them less scary than the Tyranids in a way, is you can't make more Necrons.
Yeah,
Like
they are finite.
You remember when the Necron tier became the Necrons, like that's the entirety of their forces. Like you can't make more of them. There are no more Necron tier left aside from Steve, and fuck knows where he is.
Well,
like he got lost somewhere.
I was gonna actually, I guess since we're in this, I know that the ships were sent off into hyperspace, like with them asleep and such. Can there definitely not be any more Necron tier?
It's possible. Like I'm sure Games Workshop would be willing to bring some Necron tier in if they needed to, but following current law, there's none known. So.
Right. None known. That's the
yeah.
That's the important one there.
And then eventually the main like force of the Eldar turned up, and like they managed to kind of drop in and destroy a lot of the threats. They destroyed the big monolith that was like zapping people. And they had counters, so they managed to get Pathfinder recruits who could snipe the enemy snipers, the Necron death marks. And then they had flying things that could fight the enemy flying things. I don't want to go through all of because I know if I start talking about these things, you got to be like, what's a death mark? And I'm like, okay.
I'm like, you said it's a sniper. I'm like, okay, I'm happy with that.
Are you, or do you want to know more about the death marks?
No, I'm happy with it.
So anyway, Imatech realized that with the new host of Eldar who turned up.
Yeah, the tide was turning.
Yeah, he couldn't really he couldn't hold out against them, right? Like they had more forces than him. However, that was part of his plan too.
Oh.
So he basically summoned storm clouds. Okay, so this is another part where I mention my notes. For some reason, it says he summoned angry storm clouds, but I'm like, even allowing for the fact that he can summon storm clouds, I don't really think he can affect their demeanor.
I think he can.
Wait, he specifically only got storm clouds that were angry. The happy or sad ones were like left out of it.
Yes. It's the Angie storm clouds.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll voice those.
Basically, he summoned them to cover his retreat. I assume they're like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Go away!" Like shaking their cloud fists at the Eldar. And then he unsealed the entrance to the tomb, and like ran away with his army into the tomb. And this is the bit where I'm going to directly quote because I think you'll enjoy this. Uh, had Starbane been less arrogant, less certain of his superiority and that of his race, he might have recognized the trap for what it was and withdrawn.
Oh,
Yet,
Starbane.
yet the Farseer cast his runes in haste and only saw victory ahead, and so missed subtle warnings hidden amongst the skeins of fate and the flow of the Imperium. So the Eldar walked into the tomb,
Of course he did.
like wandering around, like no one had been in there for millions of years. And they saw all the like weird technological Necron tier shit and Necron shit. They didn't see any Necrons or like any of the little bleepy bloops, the like the scarabs and etc.
Yeah.
That are basically like Necron servants. The deeper they went, the more, and this is fucking Farseers and Eldar and everything like
The
all combined
arrogance.
into one character. The more he was convinced that they'd literally just run away. Like, okay, we're just pausing this for a second because this is the Eldar. They get pissed off when someone lands on their world they used to own, like their maiden worlds.
And now they're like, well, you know what? They've been in these
They
tombs for a
probably just,
while. How could
yeah.
they could possibly not possibly have? You know, they've been playing us like a fiddle this whole fight.
Why would they care about protecting their home? That makes no sense. Who would do that? So they kept on
It's a
going. They're like,
rubbish home.
they're like, they just ran away.
Super.
Until they got like massively far into the tomb, when obviously
The trap was sprung.
the trap was sprung. Essentially, Imatech was like, boom, and then quantum gravitic force fields. There's a question mark in brackets next to that. I don't know what the fuck that is. I mean, I know it's force fields, but I guess it like is.
It's a Necron force field.
Essentially, it's sealed in the Eldar within the thing. So Starbane and his guys started shooting the force field, and Starbane could kind of see Imatech like through the barrier of gravitic force, whatever that is. And he was just standing there, just
Chilling.
at the head of a group of immortals. You know what? I'm gonna just open Immortals so I can talk, like, because I know that you're gonna want to know what those are.
Yeah, I am.
Like you know, I said snipers for the other thing that satisfied you, but you're like, what the hell are Immortals? So we'll talk about Immortals after this. Essentially, I was gonna say Sarek, but that's not his name. Imatech just gave the signal, and this like low drone started to rise through the floor. And when the ground started to crack, pouring out of the floor were like thousands and millions of nano scarabs.
Oh.
So it was basically like tiny spider-like robots.
Yeah.
Like they look like scarabs.
Yeah, I've got models of them.
Yeah, but these are nano ones.
Nano.
So I don't know exactly how to describe what it looked like. I guess generally they're used to repair.
These were used to defragment.
Yeah, essentially it was like a locust cloud of blood, because they're red, of blood red, like swarms, just like getting into the armor, burying into the flesh, etc.,
Nice.
killed all of the Eldar, like just ripped them apart from the inside out, essentially.
Yeah.
And Starbane was like, haha, we survived your we survived. I'm so glad we talked about something earlier, because like not like okay, so not all of the Eldar died, but the majority, like a lot of them got killed.
Yeah.
Eventually they like beat off the nano scarabs and
Somehow. Right?
well, you can, like if you have like a beam of energy
Yeah.
fire,
They're all
you
going to
still
be
beat those
destroyed in
things.
that, I suppose.
And Starbane was like, ha, we survived your trap.
Oh, no.
And then he looked at Imatech, and Imatech was like, uh-huh.
That trap.
And Starbane was like, quit mocking me. And then he found out why he was mocking him, because then the flayed ones attacked.
Yep.
Which is why I'm glad I talked about
do they
earlier.
do they wear not just it's not just human-y flesh, is it?
Oh, they probably eat anyone's flesh, yeah.
All right then.
Orcs, whatever.
Ooh.
Maybe Tyranids, who knows?
So maybe that's
dropped,
how.
They dropped from the ceiling, screaming with bloodlust and their claws and everything. And essentially the Eldar had to go back to fight them, because they're, as we've talked about, they're insane and crazy. And this is the interesting thing. It's even possible that this wasn't part of Imatech's plan, aside from they were drawn here by the blood, the scarabs and the blood.
Yeah, because it'll be like blood clouds, right?
Yeah. And the funny thing is that is one of the problems. That's one of the reasons why the overseer, who pledged himself to sorry, I keep forgetting his name. It's in my notes here somewhere. Imatech, yeah. That's one of the reasons, because like a lot of the Necrons who actually woke up were broken and like glitchy and etc. So there are a lot more flayed ones about.
Yeah.
And like, yes, so even though the Eldar like went back to back and fought and etc., like it didn't really make much difference. The flayed ones are fucking crazy, and they weren't like,
they didn't have a lot of chance, really.
Yeah, it wasn't the same type of fighting as they had been doing. It was like crazy robot street fighting, essentially, where they gang up on one Eldar and like isolate them from the rest, and then just jump on them and rip them apart.
Kind of horrifying. Like imagine surviving through the nano like cloud of blood and deconstruction of your friends, and then sudden flesh-eating robots.
Yeah, they did manage to put up a fight, because they essentially like literally like turned into a ring of defense. Like they were just like essentially back to back at this point, just firing outwards. And the flayed ones were like circling around them, trying to, like, after they got pushed back a few times, they were like, okay, we're gonna wait for an opportunity to charge. And when the flayed ones stopped attacking, then Imatech unleashed the last phase of the trap.
Oh, God's sake. Overkill.
He turned off the force field that was like surrounding them, and sent in the Immortals.
Okay, so what's the Immortals?
We'll get there.
No.
The Immortals did not care what they killed. They literally just killed everything in front of them. So flayed ones, any leftover like little skittering nano scarabs, and Eldar, they just shot everyone. Some of the flayed ones got away. They basically were like hissing and then ran.
But never
Uh,
mind. I don't want the flesh that much.
yeah,
I'll come back
and
for it.
the Eldar who were see, this is the problem here. The Eldar were in a tight formation back to back because they were fighting off the flayed ones, which was effective against that. But then, like kind of melee attacks from
Yeah.
flayed ones. Then when you send in like basically machine gunners, grouping
Yeah.
together is really bad.
In a
Like
nice, neat line.
like the first as soon as the firing started when Imatek dropped the shield,
Shield.
um half of them were killed just
Yeah.
immediately.
There's only probably
And
about 2 left.
yeah, like trying to fight back essentially didn't work very well because they were like, what the fuck just happened?
Hmm.
And then and then by the time they kind of like organized, Imatek had turned up with a shield wall of Lich Guard.
So I
We'll talk
mean, it
about
was
Lich
very
Guard too.
effective for the.
Just to give you a basic, Lich Guard are like super elite Necrons with with like a power shield and a massive like mix of sword and cleaver.
Oh.
And the sword and the like the weapons can go pretty through like loads of like armor and whatever. Yeah, a lot. So obviously at this point with like the immortals slowly walking towards them firing and then the Lich Guard turning up into a shield wall, it was like, yeah, no, the Eldar aren't going to win this. Of all of the Eldar warriors who had been initially in the first wave, the reinforcements, the main force, they were all dead.
Oh.
Aside from one.
I wonder which one.
Eldorath Starbane was left alive by Imatek for one specific reason.
To mock him?
Yes, essentially. So, here's the quote of Imatek the Stormlord to Eldorath Starbane after Eldorath failed his siege of Somanor. Let me tell you of my future. My hand will reach out into the stars, reshaping the galaxy into a place of order and unity. Under my reign, the kingdoms of old shall live again, reborn to an age of power and glory, the like of which only you can only imagine. I will rule every planet touched by the light of this star, and even in the darkness beyond. My name will be whispered with fear and respect. Your future, by contrast, is looking less than glorious. You will not be reaching out your hand to anything ever again, I think. Embrace the pain and humiliation of its loss, so that you might better learn the lessons from your defeat. Learn them well enough, and you might even be reborn as an enemy worthy of my attention. A hand is a measly price for such a gift, is it not? And he cut off Eldorad's hand.
And let him go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He basically sent him back to Alitok, to the Seers Council, and told them what happened, and told them how Imatek had spared him whilst everyone else was put to death. And then Imatek severed his right hand to serve as a humiliating reminder of defeat, and then let him go. And after that happened, the council was like, right, let's fuck up. Like, they're not going back to Somador, they're going for the fucking Sortek dynasty, which is Imatek's dynasty.
We're coming to get you.
And the most beautiful thing about that is that the Eldar ran into someone more fucking arrogant than them and like more like technologically advanced and smarter and all those type of things.
Which is outrageous to them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So a little bit distracting. I love that though. That's what you get for being arrogant and assuming you've won and counting your chickens.
Imatek's interesting. We should probably talk about Imatek at some point. For now, do you just want to see Imatek?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I always have to check if there's an H in the name. So that's Imatek.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, he's pretty resplendent.
Look at his big old rib cage, and his cloak.
So this story is reasonably old, comparative, like to the newer stuff, I guess. This is the art for Farseer Eldorath Starbane after he had his hand cut off.
Aww.
You see all the dead guardians, and he's just there like wop wop.
Well, that's why you should check the future properly.
Yeah, no, that was like 100% his fault. He's in the wrong on that one.
Blaming him for all the Necron deaths.
Yeah, the Sortek dynasty, interestingly, and Imatek the Stormlord, is essentially they're probably the strongest Necron faction. They have about 80 tomb worlds, and he's pretty respected for strategic genius.
Yeah, I mean they've got a badass leader who likes to make enemies.
Yeah.
Sends a message.
He got into a fight with the Black Templars Space Marine chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point he was like, this is obviously Imatek. And at one point he was having a bit of banter with them, and he was like, you have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 of your years, and yet have so little to account to show your efforts. Such failure must be depressing to bear, as it is shameful to behold.
What? I like him.
Yeah, well, maybe at some point you can paint Imatek, like in the future. Like, yeah, you look at the mini, you're like, well, maybe we'll like wait for a bit. But,
yeah, I mean, I'm knackered with this one. Which I've just finished. Hopefully, the shading of the armor. Shall we take a pause?
Yeah.